PSA Comics has officially entered the comic book market. Is July 14th going to be the dawn of a new era? In this stream, we're going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a very special Monday night edition of a live stream here on all of our channels, the Swaggle House channel, the Neo Cards and Comics channel, and the Beyond Wednesdays channel, and of course, the 99 Newsstand channel, which eventually we're going to get him to do a YouTube channel. But big day in comic book land here. PSA officially opening up their doors for submissions and grading. And I thought it'd be, appropriate for all of us to come together and kind of, talk about how we feel about PSA coming into the market. I mean, we got some really, really strong comic experts all together, some really great opinions, and we're going to get into it, and we'll certainly field a lot of questions. And later on, we're going to tune in to a eBay live sale that's going on now by a Big Clutch, where he's actually selling some of his graded PSA comics, and we're going to kind of do like a real-time market report. But before we get into all that and talk about all that, gentlemen, how are you guys doing tonight? Happy Monday.
What's up, boys?
Happy Monday. Hey, how is everyone? I'm excited, guys. Sorry, I'm just going to get my little thing out of the way right now. I'm super excited. It's been a long time coming. I love today. I love everything that I'm anticipating to happen from this point forward. All the conversation, all the books, all the grading, everything. I've had a great time so far, and I think it's just getting started. So that's my take on it. I'm having a great day because of it. How's everyone else?
So how are you doing, Brian? How are you feeling about PSA coming in?
Very interesting. I'm keeping an eye on, just like the rest of us. I think that right now is a very weird time in the world of comic books, considering it's a week out from San Diego Comic-Con, the biggest con in the world of comics. And they picked the right time to go live. And it's going to be very interesting to hear the perspective of all the collectors, retailers, creators at the con, to see what they think about it. And then to hear, from PSA themselves on, their feelings over the last week.
Yeah. Rob, what do you think about PSA coming in? And maybe more specifically, what's your thoughts kind of on the card collecting side of the hobby? Like, what do you feel like they think about this?
I'll hit that second. I think them coming, I think the key thing that everyone has to remember is whether you love PSA, hate PSA, hate the label, love the label, hate the gold, hate the font, hate the case, whatever the case might be, just the fact that they exist, even if you're the biggest CGC fanboy in the world, is important, because nobody's really been able to keep CGC honest at all. I mean, CGC had what, 3 major scandals at least that should have completely destroyed most grading companies. They had employees swapping books. They had cases that bend your comic in half, and that's considered normal under normal circumstances. I would think that would ace most grading companies, and it really didn't phase them. Maybe, I'm sure it hurt them a little bit, but not really that much. And PSA is probably the one or only company that can actually hold their feet to the fire a little bit, even if a PSA 9.8 never even sells for close to a CGC 9.8. I think that should be the biggest takeaway here. Whether you love or hate them, the fact that they exist overall is probably at least a halfway decent thing. On the card side of things, I think where the card collectors are going to come in at is going to be more on the magazine side, not the comic book side. I don't think someone that collects Ken Griffey Jr. is all of a sudden going to be let me run out and get an X-Men 1 or whatever. But I can see them being I would like to grade some of my Sports Illustrateds or Slam magazines or Beckett's or PSA magazines, that sort of stuff. Or one of the comments that I got on the video that I did, I got a lot of questions and comments and DMs asking about programs, like Super Bowl programs from the World Series, that sort of stuff. So I think from the card collecting standpoint, I think they're going to be more interested in that angle than they are necessarily going out and buying a Spider-Man book.
Right. Well, it's very interesting.
Do you think PSA is going to grade what Derek is saying, is going to grade any of the CGC exclusive comics?
What I've been told is if it fits in their holders, they will grade it.
There it is.
Ooh.
And I'm going to try to get my hand on that crypto SDCC CGC giveaway. And I might be tempted to actually bring it on over to PSA. I'll have to make a game time decision. But
I mean, they will
speaking of,
100%. You are going to see graded Beckett magazines in PSA holders. Beckett magazines are very collectible. Some of the old covers,
sure.
and they will 100% be like CGC grading a PSA magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's precedent for it. I mean, Manu, you have a Overstreet price guide that is graded by CGC, which is slightly ironic in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that thing too. My goodness. But everything Neo said, I agree with entirely. Like, and so I don't have to, I'm not going to beat it up again, but it was just one of those conversations I had with folks when people were, kind of opinions about the labels and stuff. And that's the point that I wanted to stress the most is whether you just want to continue using CGC, that's fine. You should still support PSA because it makes CGC better. Or if you love PSA, well, then you're going to support PSA. It's a win-win. Just support PSA and let's improve as we go. But everything Neo said, agreed.
Yeah, well, there you guys see it right there. PSA making some social media posts today. Their official comic grade, a nice Avengers 57, the red matching the red label. Of course, the red as a color has been a big point of discussion. The label has been a big point of discussion. Before we kind of, dive more into it, did you guys have any thoughts just overall on the label? I know that when I made videos about this, like my comments were all about that thing looks hideous, that thing looks ugly, I will never use it, da 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 da. And it was interesting because it just felt like, are you guys going to throw the baby out with the bathwater just for the aesthetics? And maybe that's a good reason to throw it out. But what do you guys think about their final label design and how it kind of all came out?
It was always going to be red. Like spoilers. They have red on their card.
Their brand
label.
colors.
It's their number one color. They're the number one grader in cards. It would be like saying I don't like the Nike swoosh, and when they make a new shoe and you don't want the Nike swoosh on there. Like it was always going to be red.
I think it looks a little off because it has that block on the PSA. I think that if it would have been like the cards where the red is just around the border, I think it might have come off a little bit better. I think people don't like the big, huge white block in the middle. I think that's a kind of, it just kind of looks off.
I have a Gen 1 label here.
Yeah.
I actually like the new label better than the Gen 1 label.
I do too,
a lot.
but I don't like either of them, I'll be honest. I think they're both, but here's what I said in the beginning. I feel like we're so used to the CGC label throughout the years that it's just going to take something to get used to. I'm not necessarily saying I hate it, but I don't like it. I mean, it feels off to me, and that's all I'm saying. But there is a but on there when we get to the gold labels.
Well, just to unpack a little bit more what you said, the big white block, Derek brings up this good point about the watermark. And Manu, I know you had a thought and opinion on this. Isn't there something missing here? Did you get any more insight on that watermark that was supposed to be there?
So I made a bit of a mistake when I was there in that I didn't examine the labels in person on my most recent visit. There were other things that I was doing, but yes, in all of the designs that I had seen and been part of the conversations of prior, there is the PSA wavy blue watermark. There's security mechanisms in place as well as like a PSA logo. And it's either not translating in these pictures. I mean, the pictures are bright, they're a bit blown out. So, well, not blown out, but they're a bit bright. So maybe it's not translating, and I'm hoping in person, we're going to be able to see more of that watermark. It's going to fill in some of that negative space, because I can understand that criticism, right? That negative space. And a lot of space is getting left empty, or there are actually, the space is a placeholder, if you will, for books that require more verbiage, more line items, so on and so forth, right? Like above the grade here, we don't see anything written. But if there's going to be a qualification or a qualifier for the book, that's where that's going to fit in. So some of the space will end up getting filled in, but the center, I am anticipating that the watermark is going to look more apparent in person. But one of the things on my to-do list was to actually examine it in person, and I neglected to do so because I was excited about so many other things. But to touch on like my opinions on the label, I am a fan of PSA labels in general, the cards, so on and so forth. And the criticisms are just like, they're just kind of humorous to me, but I understand them. But I go back to that same notion when you said, do we throw the baby out with the bathwater? I mean, that would be a huge disservice for anyone to do to themselves and the community, and kind of like what the bigger picture is here, right? Because if you are going to shun PSA because of the label, you're doing CGC a favor, but that's not doing yourself any favors, because if, like I said, now I'm not, you know, I understand, but if we don't support PSA and let this process evolve and sort of progress, we're essentially letting CGC get away still with being a sort of a monopoly, the only show in town, and getting away with all of the frustrations that we have allowed them to because we don't have a good option. So I know the label is not liked by everyone. I don't think there's a version of the label that could have been liked by everyone. I think it's great that we're at a place that we're grading. And although the label doesn't satisfy everyone, let's make sure the grades are done right. Let's make sure the books are encapsulated safely. And let's just push forward, right? No grading company is on their final iteration of the label when it first starts. And also, like, you know, when we talk about the PSA label for cards, right? If the card company PSA didn't exist, and this was a new company coming to market, and they showed you this label, everyone would yell and scream about this as well. At one point in time, one version of this label, still very similar, was new to the market, and it, over time, being the same label that you see here, took over. And it's the biggest company in cards. It beat BGS. They used to be the biggest. So the label isn't a deal breaker for me, and I don't really think it should be for anyone, but I respect anyone's opinion. If that's going to keep you from submitting, I have to respect it, and I totally understand. But even if you don't submit, I think it's still important to know that them coming to market is good for any company that you're a fan of, because it puts them on alert, and they have to do better and earn our business. So I like it. I like the red block off to the side. And another thing about the red block off to the side, I thought that was a good way of them showing us that they're willing to do something a bit different. They're not going to get away from the red. That's their brand, and I don't want them to, and I don't expect them to. But that shifting that balance is like a bold design choice, and it flows to me. I quite like it. I'm not saying to think of it like a corner box on a comic book, but it's like comic books don't necessarily have balance as well. The corner box we know to be on the top left. This is on the top left. Like, we've seen things in the design world that we've come to love and accept over decades that are not perfectly centered, so on and so forth. And so I'm a supporter of it. I'm a proponent of it, and I like it. And I'm excited to see my book slabbed in it. And if there's a V2 or whatever it's called coming in 6 months or a year, I'm going to embrace and support that one too. I'm more about the bigger picture here. I'm more about, let's get a big grading company to town and let's start grading, and let's see what that does for third party, the economy of third party grading in general.
Swag, flip over to the eBay auction real quick.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, let me give you a little bit of a preamble and a pre-setup. Big shout out to Big Clutch, regular member on the Beyond Wednesdays channel. Just dropped a
There's
video
PSA 10
earlier
running
today,
right now.
Oh, let's see the PSA
showing off his new PSA submission, which he actually has a eBay live sale that is going on literally as we speak. So we're getting kind of real-time market pricing for this, and it's very interesting. It's got 1,300 viewers in his eBay sale. It looks like this is an Invincible #1 in a PSA 10. Now, if you guys don't happen to know, the PSA is doing away with the 9.9. We're going to talk a lot more about that later on in the stream. But they're skipping the 9.9 and they're going straight to a 10. And if you do get a 10, the label is that right there, a gold kind of hollow foil version of it. So very interesting stuff. You know, like the big question is, how many PSA 10s are they going to be giving? Is that going to be a more regular occurrence? And will we be seeing a lot of these gold labels? And here you go. There's Clutch kind of showing the difference of the CGC side by side with the PSA label. But yeah, what do you guys think about the PSA 10, the gold label, as far as we're talking about aesthetics?
I think it looks better. I need to see one in person. I don't think photos do the gold label justice. I think it looks flat in a photo, but it looks shiny in the videos that I've seen.
Was that the very first PSA 10 sale right there for $300?
I don't know what else he's sold, because he's been selling this whole time we've been talking.
If I click on this, is that how I view this auction?
No, I don't think you could go back and look at sold items on.
Okay.
So I don't know does anyone know what that Invincible one comps out at in like a CGC 9.8 or a CGC 10?
That's the New York Comic Con Ryan Otley exclusive from a couple of years ago.
I think that's a different paper quality on the cover, right?
I don't know if it's cardstock or not. I know
I think
these
it's
right here are
cardstock when I watched his unboxing video.
I love the gold. I think the gold looks great. It just, I wish there was more of it. Like I said, I don't like the big white box, but I love the way the gold looks on those 10s. I think that is key. I think if that whole label was gold, it would look better. And it would really stand out more, and it would make those 10s stand out above anything that CGC has, anything that CBCS has. It would just, it would blow up even more if it was all gold. Now, I understand that, you know, depending on how many 10s they're putting out, it could be a cost-cutting thing, or I don't know, who knows. But the back was kind of interesting because the back has a red foil on it that almost looks brown.
Yeah,
which,
it's reddish brown. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a mistake to me, because it looks, I mean, no offense, but it looks like, you know, shit, right? Make it gold on the back too. I mean, you can make your, or at least don't make it foil. You don't want that brown to be on there. But that's
Brian,
just a little picking.
do you know what variant that is that he's selling right now?
Yeah, that's the Battle Beast Pete Carroll. There are no graded copies of that available right now that I know of, because that was only available in the Big Clutch eBay Live trading packs.
Well, wait, Brian, if I go over to eBay,
Oh, there you go.
looks like there's a couple listed. So let me see if we got any sales for this. It doesn't look like there's been a sale. So
well, there was bids
this one
listed
just
at 200.
Yeah, 162. It looks like that sold for, and you have a couple CGC listed at 200. So I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, tough book.
But what do you think, Brian, as far as like them doing this kind of 9.8 and jumping to 10.0, especially like from your perspective in the modern market? You know, is this something that's like, this is going to be the new chase? Is the 9.8 the new 9.6?
I think that this is what I think it is. And I'm kind of on the outside looking in here. I haven't had any conversation with anybody at PSA about this stuff. So again, I'm just throwing darts at a board. But that being said, I feel like they got rid of the 9.9 to kind of like do more 10s. And then that way the 9.9 at CGC is kind of like pointless now, right? So are we going to see, I agree with you, like, is the new, 9.8 the new 9.6? It depends if they start putting out more 10s. And if the 9.9 at CGC goes by the wayside and they start putting out more 10s because of this, that's something that's very interesting to me. I'm glad they got rid of it. I think that the 2.2 increment jumps is where it's at. When you start doing those odd numbers, it just throws people off for the most part. And I would like to see more 10s. If a book, I feel like when Manu first kind of started looking into the whole 9.9 thing at CGC, it made us realize that it felt like they were kind of holding back, and they didn't realize they realized maybe they can make more money off of doing more than 9.8s. And there's certain books out there that definitely should be 10s, especially with the printing process, the new card stock, how much everything has gotten better production wise on comics over the years. There should be more 10s, and 9.9 is just silly to me. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. I've been over to Clutch's video again. Guys, go check out Big Clutch's YouTube channel, and go subscribe to everyone's channels in the description down below. But he did his unboxing, and I kind of wanted to see if we can get a couple examples here of what he showed. Here's a couple 10-0s, that he had with the books that are going for sale. And he kind of compared, I think there's a good moment. You guys watch the whole video.
Right.
We won't do an EFAP or anything. But I think he just, here we go. So here's his nice little comparison that he had here with, the CGC 10.0 label versus the CGC 9.9. Same book. Obviously, this one is signed, but the gold kind of, makes it look very, very comparable. But I thought that this was a cool, interesting side-by-side. What do you guys kind of think, seeing it next to each other like that?
I love it. I mean, like I said, other than I think the whole label needs to be gold. The whole label needs to be gold. I know that it's going to be hard to maybe see the writing on it, you know, if it's foil like that. But if they can, they need to figure out a way to make the whole label gold. But I think it's very. They did a good job with the case, where they made the case a little bit more comparable in size to the CGC case. As we know, because of this video, he weighs them, and you see the difference in the weight. One of the big things about the PSA case when I was looking at it, holding it at San Diego last year, was it was just too big to me. And I don't know, you guys have the KIF original Gen 1 cases. Are they wider and longer than a regular CGC case at that point?
These ones are, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Very much so, yes.
So I wasn't at San Diego Comic-Con last year, but I was at the National last year, and they brought a prototype to the National for me to look at because it was going on at the same time as San Diego, and myself and a PSA employee actually walked us around the floor, and there was a vendor selling comics, and we got his CGC black plastic box, and we're trying to put this in it, and it didn't fit. And I was like, you guys got to get it down to the same size format, because it has to work with everybody's storage. So that was one of the big feedback items that they took. I believe, and don't quote me on this for sure, but I think this is the case they're going to use for a lot of the magazines.
No, the magazine case is entirely different from that one. That's the mid-size case that you could upgrade to if you wanted more protection on one of your Golden Age books or something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
That label, for clarity, that label is never coming back.
Correct.
Both the bigger case and the regular case have the new label.
Right.
Yeah. And I get the weight thing from a dealer perspective, but I will say, as a collector, when you hold, and I have not held a Gen 2 yet. Manu, have you actually held a Gen 2?
No, man, I neglected. I had every opportunity to, but I was busy with books and stuff, so I didn't.
Jeez.
I know.
At least the Gen 1, I just know when I feel it, it just feels way more premium than a CGC slab.
Oh, even
you feel the same way, Swaggle? Like when you hold yours, like if you just handed this in a CGC slab to somebody that really didn't know comic books, I feel like they'd be like, this is a much more premium thing. Just holding it.
Yeah. And I did a case review on my channel with this one and the Gen 1 and the CGC one, and the quality is definitely there. I want to pull up Clutch's stream one more time. $424 for the PSA Invincible one. I'm not sure what comic that is, but 10 out. I mean, $400.
These are good prices for modern variants getting 10s.
Yeah, that's really not nothing, prices. Right? Yeah, Derek had a good question up here that Dennis actually pointed out, and maybe it can spawn an interesting conversation. Is PSA census pop report live yet? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if the rest of the panel knows the answer to that question, but Manu, can you talk about how CGC changed their verbiage over to pop report and kind of share that with what's going on? Do you guys hear about this, Brian and Neil?
Yeah, I saw some new stuff on it.
I thought it was amazing. So Automatic Comics, Ryan, he put out a video earlier that day, and he was going through the updates on CGC site, right? They changed how you look at, I'm going to refer to as the census for now, and then I'll switch to pop. And it's a little difficult to maneuver, partly because we're not conditioned, we're not used to their new structure or whatever, but it's a little not intuitive. But regardless, one of the things he noticed is that the census name was changed to population report. The connection, because I pay attention, I've been a PSA card guy for a long time. And so what occurred to me when he mentioned that was, wait a second, that's what PSA calls it. So I took that information from him. I did a little bit of digging, and I just posted that on my story. I was like, this is very interesting that they just changed census to population report. And I said, why is it interesting? Because that's what PSA calls it. Now, most people on the comic book side aren't familiar with CGC's card stuff. Most people, a lot of people are. But a friend of ours in the chat, RMS, and I didn't fact check this because I just believe him because he knows what he's talking about, the card stuff. And he pointed out something interesting to me. He said, in fact, they had already done their card side, converted that to a population report because PSA's population report. So they had done that. And now with PSA bringing comics in, they had to make that shift to their comic book side as well. But what's fascinating to me is a lot of people had great opinions. And one of the ones that a lot of our friends shared, or a few of our friends shared, including Don't Even Worry, shout out Doom. He said, he goes, PSA didn't take anything, or he said it in less words, and I expanded. He said, PSA didn't take anything from CGC. The label's entirely different. They, in fact, changed the grading scale, eliminated something we're so used to, the 9.9. And I have opinions on that, but I am in support of it. But here CGC is actually taking something from PSA, like right away, showing that, wow, PSA has something better. That word population report is better than census. We're just going to take that. And I saw that as kind of being annoying to PSA, like they're going to jab them a little bit and just say, ha ha, that's ours now. And then I also thought of it a step further, which I don't know if this is accurate, but it's a thought that occurred to me. Maybe even for SEO purposes, it's a bit of a sneaky advantage, because people that are searching such and such pop report, population report, well, now CGC is going to be able to grab some of those eyeballs or searches that were intended for PSA results, because now their searchable data says population report. So from that side, it was smart. And just in general, it's smart. And now it's full cohesiveness all across the two larger, well, PSA is the world's largest grading company, but in cards, and now they're coming over to comics. But those two large entities now have that in common. But yeah, CGC just took it from them and said, hey, that's ours now. So I thought that was pretty funny. But it's
interesting about that recent sale that we just showed with Clutch, that $440 sale on that 10.0.
Yeah.
That is a $300 raw book. Recent sale, June 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
$300 raw
so,
book. Wow, that's a pricey book already.
So it's a $300 raw book that sold somewhat recently.
Yeah, June 5th had a $300 raw sale. It's a rare book, but most of them are signed, which is crazy, which is very interesting. We've been hearing a lot about unsigned books getting out of books that are normally all signed being more expensive. I think the one that Clutch put up was an unsigned one. So whoever bought that got a great deal on it, to be honest.
Do you know what these invincible gold labels go for roughly? Can you pull it up real quick, Swag?
Yeah, those are let me take a look real quick, but I want to say about 500. Let me take a look.
In a 9.8.
Yeah.
And not to go too data diggy here, but like that $300 sale, we Terra peaked that. Like we know that that's the price that that's sold for.
That's Terra peaked. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And now, no, guys, I'm not changing my name. I love 9.9 Newsstand. It's a philosophy. I don't believe in perfection, and I think this makes 9.9s that already exist quite cool, actually, and an interesting proposition for some fun to be had.
Is this the right book right here? Is it the Whatnot edition, Brian?
Yes. No,
this is the one that I have.
Yeah,
it's a gold foil one, I think, or something.
Gold foil. Yeah. Let me see if I can find gold foil.
Like 80 billion freaking, and I think that's
gold,
right there.
This one, Whatnot gold edition. So 9/8 of this. Last fixed price $750 in May of 2025. What did it sell for? $400. So there you go. You get a little bit of a comp. I mean, granted, this is a May sale. Maybe it would be less or more. Or there's also the fact that this is being sold on eBay Live.
You got it.
Yeah,
that's it right there.
So say more, Brian, on that.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't realize this, these live selling platforms, very rarely do books sell for as much as they comp for on eBay or heritage auctions. It's very, very rare for books to sell even, for 70% of the going value. Usually it's 50% or less of eBay sold sales that books will sell for on live auctions. And it's just because you don't have as many eyes on a live auction as you do an eBay sale or an eBay auction.
And to that, Brian, I want to add, earlier today, Swag said, or just minutes ago, Swag said, there's 1,400 people in the room. It's important to keep in mind, though, that's not people, and I'm not saying that Big Clutch is a man. He's got a very popular channel. But I'm saying that's how many people have visited. So even if they've left, it's still on the counter. That's not how many people are in there at the moment.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So that's a running total.
Yes, that is a running total. Correct.
I want to say that eBay Live has done something where you can as a seller, you can change whether you want it to be the running total or the current live. And I don't know if they've put that into motion yet or not, but there's talk of that.
Right. Well, very interesting stuff with this. I did want to kind of unpack a little bit more of, some of the recent news that came out. And we've kind of been hinting at it, but we've never been all together to kind of talk about it. And we've all done our respective posts and videos on this. But, the big news that came out a few weeks ago was that PSA was getting rid of I almost said CGC 99, getting rid of the 99. And this is kind of their new grading standard. I kind of did a little bit of a breakdown of their grading standard. We'll get into some of the other stuff, in the nuance later on. But, them getting rid of the 99 was a very interesting choice. And of course, I got to go to Manu on this one because your name is the 99 Newsstand. So obviously, your opinion is going to matter the most here. But
Aw.
at the same time, shout out to Ryan, Automatic Comics. He made this video just the other week where we had the very, very first Ultimate Fallout 4 CGC 99 that just got graded. Of the 20,000 copies that exist, the very first CGC 99 came out a week ago. Is it coincidence or is it something that's clearly a mandate coming from CGC? And I don't know. I feel like, Manu, there's a whole poetic, romantic thing with this whole situation. The fact that it all feels like it started a year and a half ago with Reholdergate into asking Matt Nelson the question and PSA coming out and eliminating 99s. And I don't know. So if someone were writing the movie, this would certainly be it about your story. But what did you think about, the 99 when it came out? And do you think that this is a choice by CGC or coincidence?
It's so interesting. It's hard to feel like it's an entire coincidence because, and I don't, what is it, the tinfoil hat? Like I could go in a lot of directions with what might be going on here, but it's so interesting that after 19,500 graded copies, like 5,000 9/8, they finally decide to give a 9.9 to this book, which there are hundreds that are encapsulated as 9.8s that rightfully deserve a 9.9 that are in even better condition than the one that they elected to make the first public 9.9. Now, of course, Matt Nelson is on record saying that a 9.9 can have a tick, but if you're intentional about putting the first 9.9 out and you're going to market it and make it available for sale right away, knowing everyone's going to talk about it and dissect it, why did you just haphazardly go with one that had the tick on it? Maybe that was intentional. Maybe it's absolutely intentional to make the first 9.9. Again, I'm theorizing. I don't have facts on this, but maybe it's absolutely intentional to have the first 9.9 have a tick because maybe you're setting a stage for what 10s are supposed to be, right? If we anticipate 9.9s to be perfect, well, then what room is there to give something a 10, right? So if a 9.9 can have that tick, not the artwork above, but the one right there, then a 10 is supposed to effectively be the better version of this, right? And so setting the stage for what PSA might be delivering to the community, more 10s, this is could be CGC saying, look, guys, a 9.9 is this kind of imperfect. So we're going to start giving what you think should be 9.9s 10s. And that's them setting us up for actually competing what PSA is about to deliver to the market. Because PSA obviously is not looking for the perfect book. Perfect doesn't exist. They're looking for virtually flawless books to make 10s. They've taken out the 9.9 from the equation altogether. So a super clean 9.8 is going to be scrutinized about whether it's supposed to become a 10, not a 9.9. So and that opens up a lot of other interesting conversations about what does this mean for 9.8s and so on and so forth. But it could be intentional that they're showing us a 9.9 with a tick, and it could be setting the stage for 10, or it could just be no thought in this at all, and it's just ridiculous, and no one, with some brains signed off on it and said maybe our first out of 20,000 shouldn't be one with a little baby tick on it. But also the other part of showcasing one with the tick is incentivizing everyone that has flawless 9.8s, which of this book there are many dozens, maybe hundreds, to look back at their collection, look back at their 9.8s and resubmit for a possibility of a 9.9 because they're showing you that flaws can become 9.9s. And so it could be a lot of things that will ultimately serve in the benefit of people resubmitting for 9.9s and 10s with CGC.
Rob, Vintage Car Collector says, you say it all the time with cars. People want 10s, not 9.5s. Same for comics. Yeah. People want 10s, not 9.9s. What do you think?
I 100% agree. That's how PSA won the card war over Beckett. Beckett and PSA used to be very close together back in the day, and some people actually preferred Beckett for a long time. But as you like to say, Swags, lizard brain, the number is bigger.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think that this is coincidence with this grade here, or you got any thoughts on this
No,
one?
I mean, this was 100% intentional, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a good comment that we should probably talk about at 9:31 from six. Boy, say that name 5 times fast.
This one?
Yeah.
Can we get a little transparency, like who on this panel is being paid by PSA or has accepted a sponsorship deal or has accepted getting their books graded for free? This seems like an infomercial.
I've never taken $1 from PSA. I'm very intentional about not taking $1 for PSA. And my personal books that are at PSA, right now being graded, I'm paying the full price for grading. And if I have elected to have, I think there's 1 or 2 that I elected to have pressed because I want to try their pressing services as well. I'm also paying that. And any traveling that I've done on my own dime. And that is for a really, really good reason to me, because if something needs to be discussed in not the most positive light, I want to be free to do so. I want to remain independent. I'm a supporter of PSA for the bigger picture. And it comes off like an infomercial, using your words, if it does, because I'm a proponent of the bigger picture here. I'm not just so concerned about the label or the initial rollout of anything. I like the fact that this is a real competitor that is a huge business with real capital that they could infuse into this area of their business and actually compete with CGC and move the needle forward for third-party grading, so CGC doesn't get away with bending our books because they're the only option. So I'm so enthusiastic about it because the bigger picture means everything to me. But if something needs to be discussed in a negative light, rightfully so, I am free to do that because I've never accepted $1, and that's my position, and it's intentional.
I have never been contacted by PSA for anything yet. But I will say this: if you want to hit me up with a sponsorship for Beyond Wednesday, I'm all available. I will also accept free hotel rooms at cons and free flights to cons. But I will never knowingly shill for anything. I think it's known on my channel that I stay away from that stuff. I use every tool that I can in my tool belt to sell comics and cards and collectibles. It's what I do now, whether that's eBay Live, Whatnot, eBay Proper, YouTube. I'm going to grade with whoever gets my books or my cards the most money on resale, because that's what I do. And I've never talked with PSA yet. I'm open to it, though. Hit me up.
What about you, Rob? Clearly, they are all in your pockets.
I mean, I've talked to PSA for, I think I was the first one out of all of us to talk to them about comic books a long time ago. I have not been paid. I've actually turned down sponsorships from PSA, specifically around comics and cards. The only thing that I accepted was a little feedback there. The only thing that I accepted was early access to send books in. So I already have books at PSA getting graded. That's the only, I guess, air quote, thing that I have gotten in exchange for that. But I've had many conversations with them. I've given them feedback on labels and cases and things like that over the months, but I've not accepted any cash, though I had the opportunity to.
PSA bought me a Ferrari and the license plate says Swaggle Show on it. So I'm really happy about that one. No, I also am not sponsored by PSA. I also, like Brian, wouldn't necessarily not be sponsored by PSA if I'm keeping it 100. But no, I'm not sponsored by them. And they did also offer me 5 books to be graded, which I sent them in. And I think my books are a loss. So video saying PSA lost my books with a facepalm thumbnail on it coming soon to you guys. So there you go. There you go. But I'll tell you this, I am paid by someone. Gus Slots Easy Money with the $2 says, can I take my comics to GameStop? That's very interesting. Rob, can you talk about that whole, GameStop PSA situation? Because that could really be an interesting thing.
So I'll preface this by a couple of different things. I am interviewing Elizabeth later this week, so I am going to ask a lot of these questions that we're getting, because some of the stuff I'm not 100% sure on what's My general sense is all this stuff will be coming. We just don't know when quite yet. They did talk today. I listened to the PSA podcast that they put up today, and they talked about drop-offs at shows. PSA is very aggressive about going to card shows, and they mentioned that they would be doing the same thing with Comic Cons. And I would assume, though I will clarify this when I talk to them later this week for a video, that you will be able to drop off comics at card shows that they're at. And I don't know about GameStop. I think a lot of that stuff is going to take time. That's the one, we could go on a whole other side tangent here. The biggest advantage that PSA has over CGC, in my opinion, is the integrations. PSA has done a really good job at getting their tentacles into a bunch of other places, most notably eBay. And in addition to that, GameStop and things like that, they are very aggressive about getting themselves in as many different places as possible. And they are very tech focused, which CGC is not. CGC is hampered by tech, if anything. And PSA does tech fairly well and fairly quickly. And I think that's going to give them a big edge. I don't think we'll see a lot of this stuff right from the get, but over the next probably 6 months to a year, I bet you a lot of this stuff comes online. I did see, just real quick, I saw a question a bunch about signatures. They're doing signature authentication, but it won't be until the fall.
Right.
Shout out to my biggest sponsor, Gus Slots Easy Money, with another $2. I would accept a PSA chip 100%.
I want to say
Simpatico.
And I will say, for the people skeptical on GameStop, they've submitted a ton of cards to PSA through GameStop, and there's been some issues here and there, but nothing super significant. Now, I don't know. Comics are a little bit of a different story. It's a bigger form factor. Shipping them is a little bit different.
Harder to handle.
From a card perspective, they are getting a massive amount of volume through GameStops. With, given if you went like percentage of errors, given the amount of cards that they're getting through GameStop, I think the percentage of issues is actually pretty low, because you'd see videos left, right, and center about it if there was like, oh my God, GameStop employee stole my cards. And there's probably been like 1 or 2 of those for sure. But given the amount of cards that they've submitted, it's probably a fraction of a percentage point of actual issues, from what I've seen anyways. And people send me stuff all the time with like, did you see so-and-so did this or this company did that?
Yeah.
Just really quickly here, because this might come up later. AJ's Comics and Collectibles said Manu will have a PSA logo wrap on his car, PSA in front, 9.9 on the back. What I want to say about that is, in terms of, I've been on PSA's merch shop many times, and I buy them myself, but I like the PSA brand. So like a PSA hat, a PSA hoodie, I'm all about it. There's never been a moment in my life where I ever wanted to wear the CGC logo, right? Like, and that says something. Like, that is the corniest thing ever, to run around wearing a CGC logo. But PSA has a cooler brand. And I've had the great pleasure of getting to know so many of the people there, and they're awesome people. Shout out Elizabeth. So many names, so many people that we've had the pleasure of working with and talking to. And Elizabeth is the head of the department, but even all of our other friends that are there, Jack, Caden, Dustin, Danny, Julie, all of them, they've been a real delight to work with. They're awesome people. And I think they're a reflection of the brand, or vice versa. It's just a cooler brand. So if I have a black hoodie on that says PSA in white, I'm not wearing that to be a PSA shill. I'm wearing that because I think it's cool. And I never thought that about CGC.
Fair enough. Big sponsor of the channel. Be sure to use promo code SwaggleShill over at Wonderworld Comics. Save 10% on your next purchase at his store. Great show, guys. But as the market I'm looking for, Neo as a card, guys who dabble in comics, label grades, and all, what is your opinion?
Ooh,
Sorry, that lost me a little bit. Do you guys know what Dennis is getting at here?
I understand the question there.
I think Dennis really wants to know Rob's opinion on all of the comic stuff so far, because he knows PSA from the card guide. But I think for the most part, Rob, you've kind of said all that stuff. You're pretty cool with all of the way everything looks, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they haven't graded a ton of stuff yet. Everyone's going to start getting their stuff back. we'll see what happens when they meet first contact with the enemy, which is happening essentially earlier today when the website went live. But like I said at the top, I'll just reiterate it. The fact that they exist is good overall because we need someone to keep CGC honest. I mean, I don't know, 100 CGC graded books. I am not planning on cracking them out and sending them all to PSA. Would I hesitate to buy a PSA book? I don't know. Ask me in a week once people start getting slabs back and we see what the grades and stuff are, but I do like right off the get, and I have not held a Gen 2 yet, but I like the way the premium feel of the case is already. Like if I was going to buy a high-end comic, I would rather it be like take everything off to the side. If you're just telling me what case I would want it in, I would much rather have a $10,000 or $20,000 book in the way the PSA case feels over the way a CGC case feels. So at minimum, there's that. And then, you can factor in the label and the grading and all that stuff, but that's just things we don't know yet. We know what the label looks like. The label's whatever. It's going to be subjective. It's an opinion on everything. I know the case feels more premium because it is. To me, a CGC comic case has always felt a little flimsy. Like you put that thing in a backpack at Heroes Con and I'm worried that it's going to crack just walking back to the hotel room. This, I'm not worried about that at all.
I have a question. My question is, well, go ahead and get this one there, Swag.
A big shout out to Gus once again. This question is for Neo. Do you have any Caitlin Clark cards? If so, how many? If not, why not?
No, they're too expensive.
There you go.
Yo, I agree on
they're
that.
In full FOMO mode
so
right
no,
now.
you don't
I'm
have
not playing that game.
So here's my question about the PSA cases that I want to know. I wish I would have asked Clutch last night or Saturday night. I've seen Hood open CGC cases with one hand, crack them open easily through the slots, the side welds. I want to know how easy it is to crack open a PSA label.
I think you're going to have people complaining the opposite direction, that they're too hard to crack open. Honestly.
Yeah, good.
I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't gotten a Gen 2 in hand, but I will be honest, I wouldn't. I mean, Swag, you have one of these as well. Would you even know where to begin, how to get this thing open?
No, I mean, I'm not like a presser myself, so like I'm not even like sure what the proper cracking technique is, but PSA put out a podcast today that Elizabeth was on, and she actually talked about this, how some of her feedback has actually been, for better or for worse, that cracking open their slabs is actually extremely difficult. So there's going to be a lot of pressers that actually hate that, but at the same time they're doing that for security reasons and to make sure that it's a premium plastic product.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Angel, shout out to you. $2 here. You know what? Here's the thing, guys. I guess indirectly PSA does sponsor my channel because I've gotten more super chats than I've ever gotten before doing a topic about them. Anyways, do you guys think CBCS is in danger?
Yes. Next question. I'm just joking.
Yes. I think they were in danger before PSA came in.
And now they're in bigger trouble than before.
I mean, I guess, and this is going to be a little hyperbolic because they haven't really graded hardly anything yet, but to me, PSA is immediately just laps CBCS.
Yeah.
Like, what's the last meaningful thing CBCS did?
Put out a terrible
made a joke about CGC.
Yeah, the banana gate joke was their best thing. And I see it too on the card side of things because Beckett has been dying for years now, and Beckett is their bread and butter, not CBCS. CBCS is a redheaded stepchild of Beckett, and Beckett was the golden goose, and they killed it. So, over the years, when we do these live streams like a year ago when CGC was having all the issues, and the CBCS chant would come up in the chat, and I'm just like, guys, they literally killed off Beckett. Their golden goose is as a dying brand. Like, CBCS is an afterthought to them if they're not even keeping the one thing that like built their whole business running correctly. Like, Beckett's slowly withering away, and you guys expect CBCS to save the day. Like, if CBCS got a 20% bump in intake because of CGC drama, it would be a customer service disaster. They wouldn't be able to handle it.
Manu,
Yeah.
you look like you have something to say.
I do. I don't want this to derail anything, but maybe it's kind of related at the same time, talking about things that grading companies have not done right and things that we've let grading companies get away with. Still only 35 cents in the chat. And he said, wow, what a crew. Hey, swag. And maybe and all. I'm not sure what.
Great
Maybe I don't know
video.
what that means. Right. So what's up, my man? And hello, thanks for being here. And maybe people are aware, maybe they're not. I don't do golden age, so this was new news to me. Not saying I never would. That's not what I do at the moment. But in any case, he made a video about was it Superman 1? I don't even
Superman
know the
1.
Superman
Excellent.
1, right? And excellent video. And what was really a shocker for me, because I don't know these things about those books, is there's a first, second, and third print. And CGC historically has never differentiated which printing it is. In every book that I know, that matters a huge amount. So in one of the most important books of all time, one of the most expensive books of all time, how could that be something they just ignore and don't tell collectors which version they're buying? That's crazy to me.
So rare.
I think it probably was maybe an oversight for them to start. And then it became one of those things where once they didn't start to do it, there's probably too many people and too much pressure of like, well, you can't start doing it now because I paid X amount of dollars for my copy and I don't want you to devalue my copy because it's a fifth print or whatever it is. Like, so then it became like probably a political thing, to be honest.
Man, but if you're one of the guys that paid $1 million for a book and you later found out you had the third printing of it, I don't know, man.
Well, maybe that third
I don't know
printing
either.
is more because there's less of them out there. If there's only 500,000 third printings and 150,000 first printings, your third printing has got more value because of the rarity.
That's
Oh,
true.
interesting. There could be less of the later printings, which
How
actually
many
might
are on
make
the
it the more
census
desirable one.
of Superman 1? If that's my first question. If there's only so many on the census, it's probably such a rare book. And how easy is it to tell the printings of Superman 1? Did they probably didn't put anything in the indicia back then. I didn't get to see the very end of his video, so I'd want to know. I saw about
still only 35 cents. Again, he did a great video. Go check out his video on his channel and go sub him up. But he explained it. It's so small. It's just on an ad page. There's just like a tiny little difference on one of the ad pages for you to be able to tell which print is which. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, there's 150 copies on the census, somewhere around that number. And who knows how it actually breaks down? Like, is the first print more rare or less rare? I mean, I would imagine maybe the later printings are less rare because the first print, was like, oh, they made whatever, 500,000 copies. And then second print was less and third print was less. So maybe the ones that have survived over time, the later prints are actually more rare. So to your point, who knows what the market would end up deciding?
35 cents. Put it in the chat, the numbers of the printings, because he did break it down. He said how many they printed of each one.
And just to add to that, because I totally agree, the ones that are more scarce there's a great logic there that they would be the more valuable, but there's still, and this is just a but, I'm not saying you're wrong. I love that you bring that up, but there's still this idea that first printing, the psychology just alone, even if it's the more printed one, it's the one, And because like with the Overstreet price guide, the first printing had 1,000 made, second printing had 800 made, but the first printing sells for a multiple of the second printing, even with that being a known fact. Comics and Caviar says, what up? He says, what does PSA's restoration label look like? Really quickly, it's the same exact label. They just note the qualifier restored or conserved or whatever in above the grade, and then the details about it will be elsewhere, but the label is going to be the same, much like CBCS does. I don't think they have different color labels for different qualifications of books.
Yeah. Big shout out to Nathapol Prakun. I'm gonna mess up your last name. I'm so sorry. Prakun Suksapan with the super sticker THB 99. I don't even know what that is, but I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice. And I think you did a great job.
Yeah, we got another one here. Another one from Gus. When is the next Swaggelhaus claim sale?
Right now,
it's funny. It's funny that you said that because I almost bought this massive collection. And if I did get it, then I would have been doing claim sales for like every night for 3 months straight. But I don't know if that deal is going to happen. But we'll keep you posted on that.
Baseball
Teddy,
card sale
hopefully
on
soon.
mine immediately following this. I'll have I do my first eBay Live baseball card sale immediately following the show. So.
Oh, nice. Well, definitely, again, guys, go give everybody a follow in the description down below. Go sub up these guys. Go support these guys. Got to do a big shout out to Comic Explain, hopping in the chat. What's going on? I don't know much about PSA. How does it compare to CGC? Well, we're finding out, as we speak. This is the first day that it's opened its doors. And the very first PSA slabs are going on sale. Of course, when I pull it up, Clutch has a CGC slab, but he's been selling PSA slabs tonight, and we've been kind of like checking in on what they've been going for. And inconclusive, I guess, would be the best way to sort of put it. But I feel like people are just kind of buying what they want, and they're still selling for some amount of money. So it's kind of cool to see it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, how PSA kind of continues to emerge on the market and how people start to value their books overall. And this one right here, going back to the grading that they released, one thing I did want to just kind of get at and hear you guys' opinion about this is that you notice when they did this grading, I feel like this wasn't talked about enough, but they grouped so many letter grades together. So when they call a book a VF, for instance, they say it's a PSA 9, 85, 8075. So that all of this is just VF to them, blanket statement. A fine to them is all of this. A VG to them is all of this. A good to them is all of this. And I thought that was very interesting how they bracketed all that stuff together. And to me, that was just kind of a clear-cut sort of example that, or them sort of saying lightly that we're kind of going to be like easier grading overall. It's like, oh, it's all a VG. It's fine. And my tinfoil hat, and again, people got mad at me because I said this in my video. This is not what I think is right. It just is what makes sense from a business perspective. They probably will grade easier to start than CGC does, because what would be the advantage to send your books into PSA to get a lower grade and in all likelihood have them sell for less than a comparable CGC book? So I have to assume that that's part of the discussion. Is it not? Is that too tinfoil hat for me? Or
No,
what do you guys think
put
about
my
that?
tinfoil hat on. I got one sitting back there. I would agree with that. I shouldn't say easier. I think looser is probably the better way to say it.
Looser. That's a better way to. Yes, I like that word more. Looser.
I don't want to say that. I'll wait to see that. But I think what's interesting is if they were putting the letter grade on the slab and then saying that this letter grade contains 758085, then I would be able to agree with you more. But they're putting the number grade, which is still a series of number grades, and just saying this is very fine. The very fine doesn't actually reflect the grade that they're giving you. So I feel like if the inverse was true, I would be on board. But that, I'm not saying that they're not going to grade looser, but I can't say that until I see it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like,
I don't think that it's necessarily
to clarify,
true.
if I go into
Because
CGC's
near mint plus,
and
they have a near mint plus and they have a near mint minus. So on PSA, so I think they're just putting that up because they don't want to put near mint, a fine plus, fine minus. So if you go up, they have a near mint plus of a 9.6, right?
Yeah,
they don't have a near mint minus. They have a near mint.
They don't have near mint minus.
Yeah.
But if you go to CGC, for instance, it's near mint minus, VF near mint, VF plus, VF minus, FVF, FN plus, FN minus. You know what I mean? Like they made it. I'm not saying that that's going to make a big difference or it's going to be a thing. I just thought that was interesting, is all. And so
what it allows them to do is have a defense against getting nitpicked against. If people are like, why did it grade this particular way? Why? Like, look at the flack that CGC is taking right now for the 9.9 Ultimate Fallout because of the one little spine tick, because their stuff's so detailed. If you have it as a more broad-based scale like how PSA did, it leaves you more wiggle room to explain why something got the grade that it did.
Comic Journey, that's never going to happen. It can't happen. You can't regulate something subjective. There's no way to regulate grading. There's too many nuances in grade. There's the visual component, the millimeter difference in a tick, the lunch that the grader had that day. There's absolutely no way to regulate grading. There just isn't.
And you're going to have a third party regulate a third-party grading group. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
another
it's
person's just going
not
to start a
happen.
third-party regulator down the road. I get what he's saying. I understand it.
Yeah,
But
of course.
the market's going to decide, just like the market decided against CBCS and CGC, the market's going to decide on this too. And it changes throughout the years. Just like the market decided early on when Beckett came out, and Beckett grading for cards was the king. It was absolutely the king. And then, like Rob said, PSA took back over, within the last 10 years or so, to be there's waves of it, and it all depends, like you guys have been saying, how it's going to adding more grading companies is going to keep the other grading companies from doing these silly things, or they won't be around. People won't grade their books to them. So, it's a good thing. More competition is always good.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
shout out to Angel once again. Will PSA open private signing like CGC does? Well, I think I can field that one. They in the podcast they had today, Elizabeth kind of weighed in on them doing their signature books and having that be a part of their business. They're not doing signature verification yet, but they plan, at least she said tentatively, that later on this year, maybe in the fall, they'll start to do their signature verification within their submissions. So I have to assume that's eventually going to lead to them doing in-house signings and that sort of thing. I just have to assume that's going to be a part
Can
of
I
the business.
ask you, Swag?
They
Neo-
do some in-house signings for cards now. They just started
was the
doing
question.
it within the last 6 months to a year, maybe. It hasn't been like they haven't brought in like A-list celebrities or anything like that. They brought in some various artists and just some like little odds and ends of things. I think that's their way of kind of like soft launching of like let's see what this looks like. Let's get workflow in the building and see how this kind of goes as they ramp up, because I think they know that the like signature series style, like, oh, we're having X person here, send us your stuff, is a bigger deal in comics than it is in cards. Because cards, we could just go get pack pulled autos left, right, and center. I got like a current athlete going to do an in-person signing is really not that big of a deal because they have a million cards on eBay for $10 that you could just go buy. Versus, having an artist come in that you can't get a pack pulled Jim Lee, X-Men 1.
Micah, Swag, Micah has a question for you. I want to know your answer too. He simply says, what up, Micah? He says, Swag, CGC 99 or PSA 10? Same book. Which are you taking?
Actually, it's a little bit of a cop-out answer. It depends on the book. If
okay.
if I'm getting a vintage book or a Copper Age book, like Ultimate Fallout 4, if they give it a CGC 99, I'm probably taking that one over the Ultimate Fallout 4 10 PSA. But in a modern book, like a truly modern book, like the ones that Clutch has been selling today, I think I'd probably take a PSA 10.
The J.
Over the CGC 99.
J. Scott Campbell swimsuit issue. Do you want a PSA 10 or a CGC 99?
I want a PSA 10, actually, for that. Especially for a book like that.
It depends on what you're gonna do with the book. If you're gonna keep it, sell it, I think that's a big point of contention.
Sure.
That's a big point too, right? I mean, as of right now, I don't care what anybody says. PSA is not the go if you're gonna resell a book until they're proven. Most people will continue to grade with CGC that are selling. That's their job or whatever they do, or they flip. Until PSA starts selling books more, the vast majority of people who sell slabs are going to grade with CGC.
What is the general difference between like a CGC 98 and a CBCS 98? Like, is it like 80% of value? Like, is there like a general?
I think at one point maybe it used to be about 5%, 5% less at one point at the height. But I think now, depending on the book, like it could be significant.
Like let's just say an Ultimate Fallout 498 first print.
What was the question?
Sorry, I would say if Ultimate Fallout 498 sold for $1,000, I would expect the CBCS one to sell for $850, something like that.
Okay, so like a 15% discount.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I've seen in general. Shout out to Gus once again, $2. That Superman movie is bringing comics back, huh? I mean, I'll say this. I saw Superman. I did actual review of it on my channel today. I was a little bit more on it, but most people loved it. And so I do think that it's going to be a positive thing for comic books. Did you
I
guys
saw
see
it
Superman?
yesterday. It was
I
10.
haven't seen it yet.
It was awesome. It was an absolute 10. And I'm a guy that goes into these movies with, already thinking they're going to be crap and they're not going to be good. I went this one, me and my dad went and saw it, and it was fantastic. And I would suggest, if anybody out there, if their dad is still alive and you can take them into a Superman movie, take them to this one. It is excellent for father-son type of thing. It's very good.
Math poll, once again, with the THB 69 giggity, will magazine graded collectibles become popular?
Mhm.
Well, we kind of started the show talking a little bit about that, but Rob, what do you want to reiterate the popularity
I
of
think
that?
you're going to see like an initial FOMO bump out of the gates. So I wouldn't like go all in on what you see happen over the next 6 months. Maybe give it like a year and see how things play out, because this pop counts are going to be low because there's hardly anything graded yet. So the supply is not really there. But I do think it gives a injection of excitement into the magazine market at minimum. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in the values right out of the gate, good, bad, or indifferent.
That's
So things
important.
shake
Good,
out.
bad, or indifferent. It doesn't out of the gate. It's not definitive. We need some
Yeah.
time.
But I do think that
It's
they will
gonna-
take a lot of market share from CGC in the magazine space. Just correct me if I'm wrong. People are not real big fans of CGC's magazine case, right?
They have improved it. I have their new one, and now it is made of the same substance as the regular one. The previous generation was absolute trash, complete garbage. And the new one is decent. It's enormous, but it's enormous because it has to be, but it's exactly the same as the CGC slab.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to circle
Well,
back to
you guys-
something. So the CBCS is about a 15% discount. Is that, I'm going to tie this into the eBay integration stuff. Would you sacrifice 15% on, like your ultra modern variant nonsense to not have to ship the book?
I want Brian to answer this one because I feel like you can talk about the speed of the flip and its importance.
Explain that. Explain that. Explain that to me again?
So, and this won't be live day one, and I'm assuming this is coming. I'll clarify this on Thursday when I talk to Elizabeth. PSA has eBay integration. So with cards, I can send a card in raw, and I've done this before. You grade it, and then it immediately goes to the PSA vault. You don't have it shipped back to you. The PSA vault is tied into eBay. So once it's in your PSA vault, you can immediately list it on eBay as a bin/best offer, or you could just send it straight to auction.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
PSA handles everything. So you
Ideal.
never touch it. You send the book in to grade and you never touch it again. Assuming, and this is assuming that you are submitting it to sell it. You're not submitting it to want to come back to go in your PC or hang on to it. You're sending in the latest J. Scott Campbell variant to flip them as fast as possible or whatever, insert whatever modern thing that you want here. What is it worth to you to just be able to send those books in, pay your fee, and go fire these off the auction the second that they're graded and be done with it? Like, would you take
That's
a 15% hit on value to never have to touch those books again?
Well, it depends on the book, for sure. Like, obviously, if it's a big book,
I mean, we're not talking AF-15s here, but
But the modern books, like you're saying, because I'm going to save a ton in shipping. I'm going to save shipping, back to me from PSA, shipping out.
They do still charge you a little bit of a fee to get them in the vault. It's not, I don't think it's the full freight of having them shipped back, but just not having to package them up and ship them out alone.
That is a big get. Totally. I think I would take a hit for that. Yeah. I'd be all about that.
Yeah. And you get hit with your normal eBay fees. It's like, I think it's like maybe an extra percentage point on eBay fees for it. So like instead of 13%, it's like 14%, and they pay out fast. I've used them. I've sold stuff for cards and I get paid out within 24 hours.
To me, the books that are like, J. Scott Campbell drops, like Marvel Rival covers, like all those types of stuff, like those are like the perfect types of books that I would use PSA and take advantage of that speed and not having to handle it if I was just going for a flip. Like, yeah, I would rather sell it for less, being in a PSA slab in theory, than having to and utilizing the speed of the turnaround for
Swag,
books like that.
you talked about that if you would have bought that collection, you would be doing sales every night. And my thought in my head is no, you wouldn't, because you would have to ship the next day. And one of the worst parts of being a reseller or a retailer is having to ship books. I don't care who you are. I don't care, how much you love shipping. It sucks shipping books. If I don't have to ship books, whether I'm paying eBay to do it or PSA to do it through the vault, or paying a worker so much per hour, I'm going to do it. If that's a get to me in a major way, a big way.
Yeah.
And they might even ship better than I would ship. So that could be another thing.
And the other thing that you
Yeah,
have too is you're getting that book to market faster than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Instead of having to wait for it to ship back to you from the grading company, it's immediately going to eBay within like 48 hours after the grade pops, instead of waiting for it to ship home. So now you're beating to market by maybe a couple of days, and sometimes that could matter quite a bit. I mean, take the modern variant out of it. What if it was some book from the 70s that's a C-list Fantastic Four character that shows up in Fantastic Four 2 in 4 years, that, or like when I don't know, like when Agatha got announced, like how much of that nonsense was not graded, and now all of a sudden you want to send in, a book from the 70s or 80s that's sitting in dollar bins because it's the latest spec play because they got announced that Sydney Sweeney is going to play him or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a big factor. I got to address AJ Comics and Collectibles comment right here. So Swag, let's test your faith. If you had a 9.8, let's say 5K book, would you send it to PSA? No, of course I wouldn't send it to PSA. I would send it to CGC.
I have multiple 5K books at PSA right now. Sorry, carry on.
Sure. But I think the point of the question is, like, I feel like, and maybe AJ, you're just good faith asking. I feel like it was sort of like, oh, are you saying that PSA is better or whatever? It's like, I'm not saying that at all. I'm a realist when it comes down to it. I would say if you have an expensive book, CGC is still the way to go, at least until proven otherwise. If it sells for more on CGC, of course you should send it to CGC. So, but we'll have to see. That's really going to be the interesting thing for us to watch as the sales start to come in and as bigger books start to go into places like heritage auctions and stuff. And we'll start to really see, like, oh, what does a Hulk 181 and a PSA 9.8 sell for? Well, no, we'll find out.
I think that's another interesting angle too with the high-end auction houses. Like, they're going to take PSA seriously because of the card side of the business. So they're not going to get like second shift because they're the new pop-up grading company. Like, they're going to get at least some respect thrown on them, because in the same auction, they're probably selling, depending on the auction house, they're selling high-end Mickey Mantle cards in a PSA slab, alongside comic books and potentially a PSA slab. So they're immediately going to get at least, PSA is going to be able to get their foot in the door at any auction house that they're talking to if they're trying to build a relationship there. If they don't already have the relation, I imagine PSA probably already has tremendous relationships with all the high-end auction houses already from the card side of the business.
And AJ's is right. Swag's answer was the right answer. I was just being a little bit of a pain in his butt, because yes, if you want to maximize currently, you're going to put it in the market leader currently to make sure you don't leave money on the table. I mean, that's,
I think it's just logical. I think that's what most people are going to do. But that's not to say that that's going to be the rule forever. And we'll see what ends up happening. Vision Eye View TV $4.99. Thank you. I will be tipping the balance from CGC to CBCS in the coming months. We'll be tipping the balance from CGC to CBCS in the coming months.
Wait,
not really sure what you mean by that. Are you saying that you are going big to CBCS?
You're going to over a bunch of books based off other comments that he made.
I don't know. Very interesting. I will say this. I don't know if this was the vocal minority, but when I made my video about PSA, I think it might have been my video when I talked about them releasing their pricing for their books, and I kind of covered that. One of the top comments on it was, I I will prefer and stick with CBCS. And it was very heavily upvoted. And I don't know if that was people making kind of like a little bit of a joke and being playful, but it was something I just noticed. And, maybe it's just like a vocal minority thing. But I forgot to mention this when we were talking about CBCS, and somebody was asking, do you guys think that they're done? Remember, like at the end of the year or something like that, even when we did our co-stream, there was like this article that came out where CBCS was like restructuring, or they were like doing some big reorg, or they got like acquired and did some partnership. This was like a big news story, and I can't remember what it was. And we talked about it. And here we are 6 months later, and we haven't heard anything. So to me, that's not a good sign. To me, that's like maybe they were trying to build up some press and some momentum, with what they were trying to build, but they haven't made any moves out of that. So I don't know. I'm not sure that CBCS has a lot of legs here, but hey, if you want to cross grade to CBCS and it works for you, then great. Continue to use them.
They got a great slab.
Why would you cross grade from books that are already CGC to CBCS? I don't see the point in that. One, they're going to get graded harder at CBCS because from what we know over the years, CBCS has kind of got a reputation for grading a little bit harder. So two, you're going to waste a lot of money doing that, right? Like if they're already graded at something high, do you want lesser grades? You want to take a chance at lesser grades? And three, if you're doing it to resell, you're going to lose even more money. I don't understand why you would cross grade. I understand sending new books to CBCS because maybe you like CBCS and you don't like CGC, but why would you cross over? I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, Vision, thank you again. You say, yes, I'll be sticking with CBCS. So yeah, I think it makes sense. If you have a system and it works for you and you like certain grading companies, like it makes sense to me to continue to use them. I kind of agree with Brian. I don't know why you would want to cross grade outside of it being sort of you're just taking a stance against the company you like. I can kind of understand that. And even Automatic says, I remember when Red Hood went to CBCS too. Red Hood is a huge comic book dealer out in Vegas and then came back to CGC because the sales numbers ultimately matter. Like I remember he made a big statement that like a big major dealer was like, I'm done with CGC. I'm going all CBCS. And then he had to like kind of cave, which was interesting. But
well, you have Wonder World Comics in the chat, who was a massive CBCS submitter. And he was very vocal about not liking CGC, and he was always going to be with CBCS until CBCS one kind of screwed him over and their reputation dropped. And now look at him, he's going to PSA. So, it's always about, sometimes it's not just about your stance, because this is a guy who had a major stance against CGC and went to CBCS, and it's about how they treat you as a customer, ultimately.
Yeah.
Right?
I got to ask Dennis to this. He says, yes, CBCS grades accurately. That's why they are better than CGC. Question, Dennis, when you say accurately, are you implying also harder?
Yes,
because that to me is such an interesting thing, because again, not my opinion, just me being a realist, harder is worse for you as a company, right? Like if your books already sell for less and you're grading harder, like you're just incentivizing people to not submit to you, which I just think is really interesting. It's kind of why, again, I put my tinfoil hat on. Like, at least at the start, I would imagine PSA is a little bit, more forgiving. Not to say that they're going to give you your 2.0 a 9.8 or anything like that, but just like if your book's a coin flip and it's like, it could be a 9.6, it could be a 9.8. I think they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt more often than not. That would be my guess as to how they sort of operate.
Swag, the books you submitted, did you have your you have notes on them? You had your guesses on what you think they're going to be, right?
Well, I did in fact do a guess and a little bit of a you guys. I did. I have a CBCS old label that I cracked out right here of a ASM 300 So that's one of the books that I sent. So there you go. We're going to see. Okay. Is it going to come back in 9.2? I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have to see. But shout out to Angel here. What if comic creators dissed PSA? I don't really think comic creators are that involved in like collectible grading.
I was thinking content creators, not comic creator.
I was like,
you're thinking.
I think you had it right. Not, I think in my mind, I saw creator and immediately went to content creator. That's why I said they already have.
Yeah. Investment Comic Books, shout out to you, says do a video on CBCS raw grade service, underrated. I have for a long time wanted to do a submission video to CBCS. I probably still will do that at some point in the future because I think it's just good for science purposes. You know, if I do one with PSA, I've done one with CGC. I do want to do one with CBCS, and I'll probably do that at some point in the future for sure.
Bit of a sad follow-up from Investment Comic Books on his next comment here.
Oh yeah, what do you say?
He said, I'm sad I'm closing my doors on August 1st. Grading and the industry has caused me to want out. I mean, there's got to be layers to that, but seems like he's at his wits end with things.
Damn, sorry to hear that, man. Hang in there. Vision Eye, $4.99 once again. Not doing it to resell. I want more correct grades overall, and I believe that we, the people, have the power to give or take away monopoly from those companies. Dude, I respect that for sure. You know, and that is as good a reason as any to use a company. If you stand by their grades and it's for you, especially, then yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Here's the thing, people. This is, I don't know, this isn't a hot take, but this is just the real world. People don't want accurate. When I'm painting with a broad brush here, people don't want accurate grades. They want favorable grades.
Do you really want to know, Rob?
No,
do you really want to know?
Don't.
I'm always the guy on
the greatest question I ever asked you. Do you really want to know, Swag?
For everyone that's with us, I know exactly what Rob and Swag are saying, and I get it entirely. I'm always the guy that's like, but I want the ideal grading scenario. I want it to be true to form. I want it to respect the integrity of what it was started for. But I get it. It's a business. You got to make people happy. Give them the bigger number. Give them the shiny this. I get it. But yeah, I'm always on the other side. Like, no, I want the accurate grade. You know, I don't want my 9.4 to have a 9.8. I want to sell it proudly. I want it to look the way it's supposed to. I want to stand behind my product. Gift grades are a curse. That's my quote. Gift grades are a curse. I don't like them, but I get where you guys are coming from. I just got to stand on mine, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not saying that I'm like, I would be happy if I all of a sudden got a 9.8 and it should be a 9.2, and I'm like, cool, I get to like sell it for so much more. Like,
but people do that though.
People do that, and it's like I always say, I don't hold other people to the same standard I hold to myself. So I just understand that that's the reality of what people are going to do, you know, and that's just the world. And yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. And maybe that's a little bit of a defeatist mindset. Maybe I should, you know, fight the power. But
buy the book, not the label.
Yeah.
If only that was true.
Vision says again, plus I have personally had way worse experiences with CGC, not to mention the endless bad experiences I've seen other collectors have had as well. Yeah, that's, you know, what's interesting. Apparently Banana Bend is still a thing.
Well, 5-book submission, 4 of them bent, 1 of them still with me. The other 4 I have sold, but I sold with the customers completely being aware of what was being shipped to them, videos and photos in advance. They were accepting, and if they didn't like it once they got it, they could have returned it. 1 book is still left from that, and it is bent, both on the side and on the bottom, and it is displaying waves because of it.
It's crazy. Like, I think the community has largely moved on, I guess, from, you know, venting about it, but I don't think we definitely did not get any solutions to that problem.
No way. They're just waiting for the plastics that are defective to be used. They're not fixing shit for squat.
We've talked about it before. You know, I always say in videos, the hobby, this is reporting the sports cards, has a short-term memory. So do comic books. I mean, we talked about it earlier in this live stream. The fact that CGC had employees swapping out books and had the case was able to get opened up and people swap out books and send them back in and not get caught for a while. And then it took what, like a year? Has that even still all been wrapped up, or are people still fighting them to get stuff back? And the fact that Banana Gate still exists and that it's still happening and just nobody cares. Like, people care for about 10 to 14 days on most of this stuff, and then it's on to the next thing. And I see it in cards every month. I actually talked about it in a video that's probably coming out tomorrow or the next day. about how short-term memory people just they get out. It's the end of the world. It's pitchforks and torches until 2 weeks later when the next thing happens. And then 4 weeks later, nobody cares about the first thing that happened at all. They just accept it because the money keeps flowing.
Totally agree.
Exactly, because
totally
they need a
agree.
great
And that's the strategy
in.
right now, because they want you to forget the list, but never let them forget the list, guys. Release the list.
I will say that's one thing that PSA has that CGC does not, is they do have a grade guarantee that actually exists and is in like writing, as opposed to CGC's, which was really funny when you did the video on. I don't remember if we did a live for that or if I sent it to you and we just talked when you pulled up the CGC grade guarantee and we read through it live on a video, and it was a disaster.
It was a complete disaster. Listen, at the end of the day, there's no perfect grading company. There's going to be mistakes. And as Ryan put it here in the chat, I'm waiting for a PSA 10 to have a tick. Lol.
It will.
It's going to happen. You know we're going to do it. We're going to make videos about it. We're all going to make fun of it. And like Rob said, 2 weeks later, everyone's going to move on.
I've done plenty of videos of PSA doing stupid shit in cards. And guess what? People still send, PSA still grades 1.5 million cards per month.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a future where a PSA 10 comic book may exhibit a small tick, and I think they're going to regard that as accurately graded because they're you know, it's virtually. I don't know. That's going to be a tricky one. I'm going to have to wait to see it because that's going to be tough. How do you? Yeah, we'll see. But I think it does happen. I think they're going to feel it is accurately graded if the tick is small and everything else is perfect. So
yeah,
I'm just going to have to wait and see.
Vision I View, appreciate you, brother. $20 here. Split this amongst y'all just because I love an intelligent, deep convo about these topics. I will certainly do that, at least for Manu and Brian very soon. I'm going to go buy them drinks because we're all going to San Diego Comic-Con next week. So drinks on me. Yeah, I'll buy Rob a drink in New York when I go to New York Comic-Con when I see him. But yeah, man, San Diego Comic-Con next week. PSA will be there. They're going to be taking submissions. I think Brian, are you going to bring any books?
Here's the funny thing. I was talking backstage with you guys. No, I'm not bringing any books, even though they are going to be doing concierge service, what they're calling it, I believe, which if you drop off on Thursday, you can get it back on Sunday, which is very interesting. But I won't be bringing any books, but I will be bringing 3 Michael Jordan rookies, a couple one-of-ones, some tickets to get graded, some other things that I can just drop off to them rather than worry about getting lost in the mail, which even though they might send it, I feel better about them sending it than me sending it in the mail. So that's kind of my plan, is to take advantage of the other grading things that they have while I'm there.
Nice.
Yeah. This is a good one here. Dennis says, Neo, tell everyone the difference in CGC and PSA card values and prices.
Oh, in sports cards, it's a disaster for CGC.
Yeah.
Really?
CG, they do a little bit better. Like their Pokemon stuff actually sells like decent enough.
Still?
In sports, it's bad.
Yo, Neo, their Pokemon
when
stuff
you say
is
disaster,
still?
When you say disaster, is this like the same difference of like other card companies, or is it worse with CGC? Like SGC?
No, they're the worst. It's PSA. Then you have like a Beckett, like a PSA 10 is here. Well, Beckett Black Label is up here still, but they're near impossible. It's like in a sports card, it's like less than 1% chance to get one on most stuff. So of grades you could actually get, it's a PSA 10, it's a BGS 9.5, and SGC 10 are very close together at probably like 75 to 85%, depending on a lot of different factors, but generally speaking in that range. And then I would say CGC is probably more in the 70-ish, 65 to 70-ish % on most sports cards. They don't grade a lot of sports cards that people transact in a lot. So it's difficult to do like one-to-one comp comparisons because they grade way more low-end stuff versus PSA and some of the others.
Bronze and
but
modern
DTG,
gods,
they do well. Pokemon, graded Pokemon stuff, they do pretty okay. And it's more PSA is still getting way more, but it's more. It's like 80-85%.
So Neo, even after the big Pokemon scandal, tens of millions of dollars of fake test cards, all of that.
Nobody cares, Manu. Nobody. Everyone
Wow.
forgot about that.
Wow.
No one. When's the last time you heard someone even bring that up?
Jeez.
They look better
It is-
though.
CGC's holder is nice. I will give them credit. Their card holder is super nice.
The label looks great on a Pokemon card too, in my opinion. I
They're
think the
crystal
CGC
clear. Their
label,
plastic's way better.
Yeah.
In
and
cards.
I'll say this too. I think CGC's labels and cases for video games looks way better than any other grader out there, in my opinion.
Teddy says, you guys going on which days? This is in relation to San Diego Comic-Con. I will be there all weekend. I think, Brian, you'll be there all weekend as well. Manu, you're going to be there.
I'm going to be in
Not
and out.
so-
I'm going to be in there for a night or two. That's it.
Okay. A little bit of a promo. In case you guys are in the chat and you're going to San Diego Comic-Con, I got a panel on Friday at 6:30, original comic art and open discussion with insiders. Insiders, guys. Insiders. I'm going to be moderating a panel with Dinesh Shamsani, Patrick A. Reed, and Michael Hansen, otherwise known as Zatari. And we're going to be talking about original comic art. And it's going to be awesome. I'll put some flyers together, let you guys know. You guys should definitely come check it out. Dinesh is going to bring like a bunch of pieces. And if you guys know his art collection, he's got some really nice stuff. So there's going to be a lot of cool art pieces on display. We'll kind of do a little bit of a gallery and we'll have a good discussion. So, but I'll be there all weekend.
Dude, that's so cool. That panel is going to be great. That's awesome.
By the way, Mike Hansen, one of the best comic collector minds in the hobby. If you guys want to think about, I know we have Manu on the panel, the 99 Newsstand, but when it comes to modern newsstand knowledge and giving that knowledge to the collecting community, there's nobody that has done better than Mike Hansen Zatari in the past 15 years.
Yeah.
Mike's the man.
I completely agree with that. One more super chat here. I think we got from Investment Comic Books, CBCS raw grade being non-encapsulated grading. Sorry, that went a little bit past me. I don't quite understand that.
Does CBCS still offer that where they give you, like, they just put it in a semi-rigid plastic sleeve and give you a grade on it, not encapsulate it?
Yeah, soft slabbing, I think they're calling it, right?
Do that for cards. Beckett does that for cards. Beckett Raw Card Review. They do it at shows a lot because they don't have to bring the encapsulation machines, and it's a way to get a quick, dirty opinion on something. They usually won't sell for the same full comp as what like an actual slab version will sell for, but it'll give you a bump over raw, assuming that the grade's good, depending on whatever the item is.
Gotcha. So underrated. Well,
most people buy the Beckett Raw Card Reviews and then immediately just take it and submit it to PSA if it's like a Beckett 9.5.
Manu, I think you pointed to a comment. You were going to say something.
Oh, Bronze and Modern Gods had the same idea. He was going to take the exclusive Spider-Man CGC or Superman CGC book and encapsulate it with PSA. So I guess it's going to be a race between who does it first, you or them.
Dead serious. I will say I am planning on dropping off some books to CGC. That is right. I have books at both at PSA and CGC, so I will be getting that variant from them. And yeah, I don't know if I should submit it to PSA and maybe do it as a giveaway. I think I should. That would be funny.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Swag, you know what you'll be able to do in the future, most likely? You'll be able to drop your books off at Burbank.
I would love to do that. Burbank Sports Card, guys, comics could never. Okay.
Do it. Cook.
This store, man, listen, all I am every single day is bombarded with like videos of Tom Brady collecting sports cards. We got freaking Emma Roberts, buying up PSA stuff. It's like all the cool kids are doing sports cards, and here we are talking about comic books. We should have been more into the sports card world. There's just more going on. It feels like the stores are run better, But
that's the biggest thing between sports cards and comics right now is the fact that when you watch TV or social medias and you have these basketball players, football players, major musicians breaking cards, collecting cards, trading their cards for bats and jerseys. You don't have that in comics. You don't have these big, huge comic collectors. You know, you have a few of them, but they're not out there. We don't put them out there like they do with sports cards right now. And that's helping to really, really grow the hobby with younger people, because these younger kids see their favorite people collecting. Oh, I want to collect this and that. We don't do that with comics. It's kind of sad. We should do that more. We should spotlight more on these, you know, famous collectors that love to collect. Every once in a while you see them, but not the way that sports cards puts them on a platform to say, look, they're collecting too. And I don't think I've ever seen it to be the way the hobby it is right now. When I was growing up with cards, baseball players and they didn't collect their own cards. I mean, you know what I mean? It wasn't a thing. Now you have a lot of baseball players collecting and trading their cards with other guys in the clubhouse, writing messages to each other on dual signed cards. Like, that's a big deal. We don't have that in comics.
Yeah, we don't. We should. I think comic creators and people should get more involved in the collecting side. I think Marvel and DC should do that, but we're not going to go on that soapbox tonight.
You guys are
All right,
gambling
fellas.
now,
Well,
though. You guys are gambling now. You finally dipped into
yeah,
the
that's true. We do
gambling.
have Courier.io and AI influencers, so you know we got that going on, which is great.
You're starting to
but,
catch up
you
to
know,
the
I know-
card guys. You got digital blind bags, and that's another part of the eBay vaulting process is, so the demand for repack liquidity is so high, for inventory rather, that when your books or when your cards trade with eBay, they have buyers lined up that will immediately just submit you blind offers on your stuff that you could just accept.
Wow.
So like when my card grade orders pops, if there's an in-demand card there, it'll just say you have an instant offer for X amount of money. Sometimes they're crap, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're close enough where it's like, I don't have to mess with anything else. I could just hit this button right now and just immediately get like 83% value on my thing. Sure. Done.
Yeah.
CGC's
fellas-
PSA's integration is crazy, just across the board.
It is, and their comic submissions have officially opened. So great discussion tonight. I know, Brian, you got your show to do. I think, Rob, you know, it's bedtime for you probably.
East Coast man.
So I think we can kind of give our final thoughts here as you know, CGC now in the comic book space. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you guys kind of want to get out before we wrap it up?
This will be an interesting thing to revisit around like New York Comic Con time. Like a sick, like, you know, what happens? This has been all fun and games, but now the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of submissions. We're going to see a lot of sales, and we're going to have more data to look at and comps, which, you know, we'll have to see if PSA can get close to some of the recent CGC sales.
And the other thing too is, just do people sneak stuff past them? They're gonna get tested out of the gate. Every purple label CGC book, someone's eyeing it to crack it and send it into them to see what it comes back.
That's true. The very first scandal, someone will make a video.
It's gonna happen. It's 1000%.
I got a restored CGC book and I sent it into PSA and I got it back unrestored. 100%.
That was
I
a
think
comment
it's
in here
already
too.
I think it's already happened. You kind of mentioned it, Rob, at the backstage. You know, in Clutch's video that he put out today, the Newton rings are going to be an issue that people are going to talk about.
I need to see that in hand when I get my own back to see exactly like how prevalent that they are. But that was a concerning thing to hear him mention that already in the video. I know the test slab has it, but I gave him a lot of leniency on that because this was not a real slab, and it's a foil cover, which are a little bit more prone to those. So we'll see what it looks like when we actually get live ones in the market.
I spoke to them after watching that video, because people had already started asking me about it, and I know that's not going to stop being a question that I get. And they're looking for a solution for it. I mean, you know, their primary concerns were using extremely high grade materials, high quality plastics, having a safe encapsulation. they have not been able to resolve Newton rings across the board yet. They're aware of them. They don't like that it's happening. They are working on and hoping to find a solution. And that's what we have so far. But they are very happy with their slabs and what they've done. But yeah, they were not able to effectively get rid of Newton rings across the board yet. And so I just told them, I said, that's going to be a question I'm going to get a lot, and they are prepared for it. They know.
What did CGC do to fix that? Because they had that problem for a while too. Then didn't they adjust something that kind of made it, or was is that why our book's bent in half in a CGC case now?
That's exactly right. There's a bit of a trade-off if you create enough of a gap, a space between, for CGC's purposes, the inner well and the outer slab, meaning you put the appropriate size, the book in the appropriate size inner well, but you put the inner well in a slightly more in a slightly larger encapsulation. Well, you're not going to have the plastics touching. You don't have Newton rings anymore. But it's not incredibly it's not incredibly. You lose a bit of the security. Meaning, if you ship a book where the inner well is prone to move around more, if you catch a big bump, the inner well is going to fly into a corner, and even if the slab or the inner well doesn't bust or break, energy has to transfer. The book itself will get pushed into one of the cutouts in the inner well, and the book could bend. So yes, you've gotten rid of Newton rings, but the additional space creates motion. So it is an engineering nightmare, and I don't envy the person that has to come up with a solution that both gets rid of Newton rings and keeps the book perfectly safe. It's a tricky one.
Well, we'll have to see what happens with those Newton rings in the future. But until then, I think we're going to wrap up the show. Guys, thanks so much for chiming in today, co-streaming. Everyone in the chat, really appreciate you guys, being involved with the discussion tonight. Everybody be sure to hit the description, sub up everyone here, go give them a follow. Hop over to Brian's live show. Brian, what are you going to sell on? Whatnot right now?
We are going on eBay Live immediately following this. It's my very first baseball card sale on eBay Live. I have cards from the 60s to the current. Most are 80s, Hall of Famers, McGuire, Bonds, Sandberg, all those rookies, all the classic cards that you remember when you were a kid. And then tons of modern stuff, all the modern guys, Cal Raleigh, Bobby Witt Jr., Julio Rodriguez, all the guys that have been, popping out over the past 5 years. Tons of stuff, all starting from $3 to $10 starts.
All right. Well, go hop over to his eBay Live, support that San Diego Comic-Con fund. And thanks so much, guys. We'll catch you on the next stream. Appreciate it. Peace out.